Hello, everyone. I'm Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness. And I got to tell you, today's guest, she's pretty amazing. I have some stuff going on in my life, and I almost, did an emergency cancel. And I just thought, no, because I don't know when we'll be able to have this wonderful woman on the show again. And she is amazing. Wait till you guys meet her. Her name is Jessica LaMarre. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Julianne. It's so great to be here.
So
And hello
glad to
to
have you
everybody
here.
watching.
Yeah, exactly. And you're traveling and you've got all these other things going on. So the people who are watching, woo, we made it.
Yes, we did. We made it.
Anyway, you and I had a chance to speak privately before the show. And obviously, I've been looking forward to this since we first met. But I would love for you to share a bit about yourself and your wellness journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like many, I followed the road of what the world would tell me, of what the world told me would make me happy. And so I graduated high school with a full ride scholarship, went to college, got my electrical engineering degree, and went into corporate America. And the dream job that I thought would make me happy finally, that I wouldn't have to chase the achievements, that I wouldn't have to push myself so hard. It wasn't the dream that I thought it would be. In fact, it was even more difficult because there were no summer breaks, there were no winter breaks, there was no final to study for. It was nonstop go, go, go. And no one could save me from myself. No one. I was a workaholic. So I would catch myself waking up. The first thing I would do would check my phone as if an email would have come in between the last 6 hours of interrupted sleep that I received. And I just wasn't taking good care of myself at all. In 2015, I was a mom of two. And I knew then, I said, there has to be something different in life. There has to be. And that's when I started to realize I've been working my whole life for something that I thought I wanted, and I don't want it. And when you have that realization that you work so hard, and from the outside in, everything looks wonderful, right? You have the houses and the cars and the kids and the vacations and all of the things that you're taught to want.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the inside, there's a huge void. And you just feel like something's missing in your life. And in the beginning, you don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I would seek and I would think, okay, well, maybe if I have this, like, let's talk about the accomplishments, right? The whole list that I have. Or if I had something physically, like if I would buy myself something. But nothing felt the void. Nothing could feel it. It was just always in me. And then in 2017, I was pregnant with my third child. And when I got pregnant with my third child, things were going smoothly until we did the ultrasound scan, which they check everything. And the ultrasound technician, she wasn't saying much, and I didn't remember that in the first two. And I said, how are things going? And she said, the doctor will follow up if anything's wrong. Well, sure enough, the doctor followed up and let us know that the baby that I was carrying had cysts on its brain and kidney issues. And those were soft markers for trisomy 18, which is a chromosome condition in which most babies don't ever make it to birth. And if they do, then they don't live past their first birthday. So it was a very trying time as I was almost 20 weeks pregnant carrying a baby that may not live. And so I started to question the entire purpose of life. Why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I working so hard? What does it even mean? What am I living for? Like, what am I bringing to the world? And we went through, I decided, okay, I'm just let's go all the way through and let's see what happens. And I did. And on Cinco de Mayo, 2018, I gave birth to a miracle with not one thing wrong.
Wow.
Yes, I know. And so in that moment, I held this baby and I said, I have been so blessed. Just show me what to do and I will do it. And it was at that time that I started my healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is amazing. First of all, I want to point out the fact that doctors aren't always right. Miracles do happen, and
Yes.
it's nothing is written in stone. I'm just, I'm so grateful for you, and obviously, for your family. That is so amazing. That must have really just been like, okay, I will do whatever because there's proof.
Yes, absolutely. And
So
that's
how
what I
did
did.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So explain what it is that how are you of service now?
Yeah. So after 2018, I started to hear about this school called Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. And so I got curious and I went back to school. I did life coaching, spiritual coaching, and those were, it didn't feel in alignment.
Hmm.
And I was like, this is great, but this isn't really what I need. Well, then I started doing healing work, like the deep healing work, the inner child work, the shadow work, the work that requires us to be in places that we've never been before inside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That changed my life. And I said, this is what has to come forth. This healing work is incredible. It truly transforms your life, changes self sabotaging belief systems, limiting thoughts, overreaction with emotion. I thought, this has got to be it. But then I went even further and I learned about intuitive guidance. And so I spent over 200 hours training as an intuitive guide. And that's really about using my intuition to guide others to tap into their intuition. And then I went to Delphi University for in depth channeling and really
Oh.
channeling spirit and bringing forth messages to guide people on their journey. Because many of us are on this journey and it can be very hard.
Mm-hmm.
This journey can be very hard. And sometimes we need help. And so I teach women now how to access that divine intelligence, that innate wisdom that exists within us, how to open up to their heart and follow it.
There's so many people out there that don't even realize. I mean, women are a little bit better about understanding that they have intuition, but a lot of people who, it's funny because people call me psychic. I'm like, I'm not psychic. There's nothing psychic about me. I'm really good. I've got a strong intuition. I'm really good at reading other people's energy, but I'm not psychic. There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to somebody who maybe is thinking, I don't how do I tap into that intuition? Because as we both know, we're always taught to think outside of ourselves, like trust people outside of ourselves for what's going on with us.
Mm-hmm.
And that intuition is like the ultimate guidance.
Absolutely. So what's going to happen at first is we're going to question our intuition always because this is what we were taught as a
Mm-hmm.
child. So we came into this world and we were free and we were ourselves and we could be and do whatever we wanted until we couldn't anymore. And we were instantly taught that our body doesn't know better. We were taught that what we want to do isn't what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
And so the relationship with our intuition is off. And so, in order to more deeply access your intuition, all that's required is you heal the relationship with yourself. And that comes down to trust.
Well, that's an interesting, it sounds easy, but all
Everything
you
I
have
teach is easy, but it's not simple.
to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, working with you, for example, is this
Mhm.
like, I know that everybody's an individual, but I know there's people out there that are like, okay, it's kind of like if you have to lose 200 pounds, for example, if you don't start to see some sort of a result, it's hard to keep moving forward because you're not seeing anything. But are there little wins along the way that can keep a person interested in digging into the deep and digging into, learning how to trust themselves?
Yeah, Absolutely. So, uh, get curious is what I would say. The first thing I would say is get curious. What keeps us stuck is being scattered, is looking everywhere else. So get curious just about the next thing and start to notice the coincidences. Start to notice when things align. Like maybe it feels like you shouldn't go to that pizza place or to that restaurant, but you go anyways. And then the line is long, the wait is long, the service is bad, the food isn't good. Like just notice if there's something off, if there was a reason that maybe you shouldn't have gone in the first place. Or maybe you go, something inside you says, take a right turn, and you go a different way to work that morning. And there was an accident on the regular way that you go. Just notice what happens and see, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize, but my intuition led me in a different direction and it was open and the road was clear. And then you could also just do it internally, right? Like, how do I feel? And what I've discovered on this journey is that all we're ever doing, ever, is either running from a feeling or towards a feeling. That's it, right? I want to feel this way, or I don't want to feel this way.
I mean, that's profound because I mean, even like in marketing, it's like it's the pain point, or are you going after pleasure or pain? Like, are you, what you're selling, keeping somebody from some sort of pain, or are they going to really enjoy something about it? So, man, but just even like, I mean, it's so obvious, but I don't think a lot of people think of it like that.
Right. Right. And so exactly what you just said is, so women that I work with, what they're running from is that burnout, that overwhelm. They know that there's something greater for them on this side. Right. So they're running away from the feelings of being so overwhelmed, of not trusting themselves, of self-doubt, of self-sabotage, things like that feel like that, right? That look like rebuilding their landing page or redoing their presentation or updating their website 15 times, and they really want to get to that place where they can trust themselves, where they feel confident, where they have clarity on what to do next, right? And that feels good inside to have clarity.
It's interesting because I want to talk about clarity for a brief moment, because I know that I have been like this in the past, and I know that there's so many people out there, women especially, that feel like they don't want the kind of clarity because it's going to lock them into some sort of path that maybe they might want to change at some point. What would you say to somebody? I mean, you've changed directions, and so have I. So, but what would you say to somebody who's like afraid of finding that clarity for themselves?
Okay, so because you already know. That's why you're scared. You're scared because you already know.
Yeah. I love that. I love that, because if you didn't know, you wouldn't be, it wouldn't bother you. I was sharing this the other day, and it's so true. There's so many of us that are kind of so unaware of ourselves. Like, we've put ourselves last for so long, not paid attention to who we are, that we don't even know who we are anymore. So, for example, when I was studying, or I was going to become a deputy sheriff, which thank goodness that didn't work out. But but one of the things I had to do was I had to do a little bit of schooling. And I thought, well, what do I like? And I honestly had no idea. So I just walked around my apartment and looked at all my books and thought, oh my gosh, I have a zillion books on nutrition. I guess I'll go to school for that. I mean, I had no idea. I know I'm not alone in that. But for somebody that maybe wants to become, a little more, I mean, because it comes down to intuition and knowing yourself and all of those, they're all sort of the same idea, different aspects of it. What would be maybe a first step for somebody who's like, I don't know if I believe what she has to say, but I'm kind of curious if there's any truth to it.
Yeah. So again, I'll just circle back to the whole goal is to heal the relationship with ourselves.
Mhm.
The first thing to get clear on is what you don't want. Like, it's easier to get clear on what you don't want in life.
Mhm.
Make a list of the things that you don't want, because then the things that you do want become really clear. That's one super simple step. And that's where I was in 2017. I was in the life coaching class and they said, okay, well, write out your dreams. What do you want? And I thought, I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't even really know who I am.
Mhm.
And so I had to evaluate, okay, well, what don't I want in my life? And that's when I started writing out the things I don't want to feel so stressed out. I don't want to feel burned out. I don't want to wake up every morning and the first thing I do is check my phone. And the last thing I do is check my phone and feel irritated and frustrated and aggravated. These are the things I don't want. Well, then what is
Mhm.
the opposite of that? Like, what do I truly desire? Well, I want to feel more peace. I want to have time for myself. That was huge. I don't want to do things for other people because I feel bad or feel guilty or feel shamed. I want to do it because it feels good. Like, I really want to help. I don't want to be in a corporate environment in which I feel drained and I'm doing things for others that don't align with who I am. I want to serve in a way that I've been called to serve.
That's beautiful. I love that. It takes a lot of the pressure off too, because it's easy. Whenever I ask somebody what they want, they'll give me a list of all the things they don't want.
Mhm.
But it's a good way to really get you going and to think about it from that perspective. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it makes it a lot easier to not get stuck and think,
Yeah, if you ask most women what they want, they don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Even I struggle with that a bit. And, I've spent quite a bit of time thinking about it. But the idea, I guess, is more not so much that I don't know, is that it keeps evolving. And that's
Mm,
okay. It just gets bigger.
yeah.
I'm saying yes to things that are falling into my lap. And it's been amazing, but it's not at all what I imagined for myself. But it does, check off the boxes. I wanted a sense of freedom. I definitely have that.
Yes.
It just doesn't look the way that I expected it to. But it doesn't mean I didn't get it, which is pretty cool. I love that.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And I will say that the women that I support, they typically know what they want. They've gone through the
Good.
phase of knowing what they don't want.
Hmm.
And they're like, okay, this is what I had, or this is what I currently have, and this is what I
Hmm.
want. Like, I want to feel more peace. The number
Yeah.
one thing that women want when they come to me is freedom. That's
Yeah.
typically whether I say simple, but like, I want more time to myself every day,
Mhm.
or I want to quit my career, right? It can
Yeah.
be on a vast spectrum.
I love that. On that note, we do need to go to a commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a minute. And for those of you who are watching us live, thank you so much for being here. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation and learn some more about the spiritual aspect of things. So we'll be right back in just a minute.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, I'm Julie Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and today's amazing special guest is Jessica LaMarre. Welcome back. By the way, I love your earrings. They're very fun.
Oh, thank you. My daughter picked them out.
She did a good job. During the commercial break, I was thinking about things a little bit, and I'd really love you and I had spoken before the show about 3 different archetypes of women.
Mhm.
And I would love to just dive right into that a little bit because, with all the work that you've done and how you help people, I think that this could be the most beneficial for everyone. So would you mind sharing a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a Reiki master and as an intuitive guide in helping women, I've done over 100 intuitive guidance sessions in the last year, and I started to notice a trend. And so I did research, and my engineering brain loves research, by the way. So I spent hundreds of hours researching. And then I also channeled messages, and I discovered that there's 3 archetypes. So there's the empath, the emerging empath, the loyal light worker, and the hidden healer. So the emerging empath, she doesn't yet quite grasp what it means to be an empath. The impacts of being able to feel it all from everyone else and how she feels really drained. And that happens whether that's at Costco, whether that's around people, or whether that's in a career that doesn't align with her or relationships, right? And so she could really feel everybody's energy. In fact, she maybe even feel her stomach drop, right? In a situation in which she's like, ooh, this doesn't feel right. She knows, she has an intuitive sense. And then we have the loyal light worker. She is committed to bringing the light. Okay, she is here and she knows that what she has come to do at this time is help others uncover their light. And really, this happens in many different ways. You don't have to be in a specific role or have a specific title to be a light worker. You can have whatever role it is that you have and bring light to the world. And then there's the hidden healer. And the healers are the ones that are doing this work right here, right? These conversations. They are doing the work of enlightening others of what it is to awaken to who you are and what your soul is calling. Right.
Oh, wow. And so what I heard you say too is that you could have any sort of job or career or anything like that, but these are the 3 archetypes that you see. Does this only apply to women?
Yes. So I work specifically with women. Yeah.
I love that. So I actually popped up your website for a minute, and here it is again. You have a quiz that will help with this, correct?
Absolutely. So when we are in these healing archetypes, there are beautiful gifts and there are challenges and struggles. And so if you go on the website, or when you go on the website, www.lovepersonalgrowth.com, there's a quiz, Harness Your Healing Archetype quiz. And you could go on there and take the quiz. It's 10 simple questions. So it's a simple quiz and you'll get a full report. So you'll get this like 10-page report on the challenges that you may face, the struggles that you may have, the gifts that you've brought to the world, what you can be proud of yourself for. And then also you get next steps. So I have meditations in there as well.
Oh, wow. So it's not just like one of those, here you go.
No, you can help.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, thank you for doing that because, It's fun. That's something that I want to learn more. Do you ever find that people are surprised at their archetype, or is it pretty much people intuitively know?
I feel so for most women, it's not so much about which archetype, but about how much they feel seen and heard and acknowledged and validated once they get the results. I had a woman tell me, she said, I wanted to print out the report and show it to my boyfriend and be like, look, this is why. These are the things that I struggle with.
Wow. I love that. It's so nice to be seen and heard and appreciated and understood, and, all the things that we as women tend to sort of neglect or
Yeah.
not demand for ourselves, or you know what I'm trying to say. It's like
Yeah.
the first thing seems to go to the wayside as we're trying to take care of others.
It's that people pleasing that we've been conditioned into.
Yeah, exactly. Conditioned. I'm so glad you said that word, because that's really what it feels like. And, it's not something that comes from us, but it's just the way that it's been. And, my fiance and I were talking yesterday. He was watching a pickleball, because we play pickleball. He loves it. Like, he's really into it. I just play for fun. And it was mixed doubles. So man and woman, he goes, yeah, the men always hit like 70% of the shots. And I said, well, why do they allow that to happen? And he said, well, that's just the way it is. I'm like, that's the way it's been. That doesn't mean that that's the right way.
Right.
It was kind of like
Right.
eye-opening for me to point that out. It doesn't
Yes.
have to look like that. Just because that's how it's been doesn't mean that that's the best way.
Absolutely. I love that you pointed that out.
Yeah, he was a little like, it took him a second to, I don't think he wanted to see that, because he does that with me a little bit. But actually, I prefer it because I have a couple injuries, but that's beside the point. Anyway, so when you're, I want to get back to this idea of trusting yourself. Just that, I mean, I would think that really learning to love yourself would also be an aspect of that. Like, it's almost like a sign of respect.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. It all comes with the word that comes is compassion,
I love that
because
word.
there's going to be a lot of times, even in this journey, as we level up in the respect of ourselves and in trusting ourselves, that we're going to misstep. There's going to be times that we're going to know what we need to do and we're not going to do it. And then we're going to be like, oh, I should have done that, or I shouldn't have done that. And we're going to shit on ourselves. Don't shit on yourself, please. And it comes with that compassion. And I believe that compassion is very loving. Compassion is very respectful. It respects us where we are. And it's so loving that no matter what we do, compassion, it's like a warm embrace, a hug, a nurturing, loving hug that wants us to know that no matter what we do, no matter where we've been, no matter how we show up, that we are loved no matter what.
I love that. I think that is, a really powerful word and a powerful way to put it, because and also it seems a little bit more accessible, because I've talked to so many women who can't tell themselves that they love themselves. They can't do any, it's just so difficult. But compassion, that seems like a possibility to be able to work on that, and because you're right. I don't care who you are. There's always going to be times when, even when it comes to me, like, I just think about silly little things. Like, I swear I'm going to go to bed earlier so that I will get enough rest and treat myself, my body well. And then it's like bedtime and I'm like a little child, 5 more minutes. And then that goes into not trusting myself because I didn't do what I said I was going to do. But I think I'm curious. Exactly. I'm curious too. When you say, trusting yourself, what does that mean to you? What does that mean? Because, like, for me, I can sort of give examples, but I don't think it's exactly what you're getting at. So I would love for you to dig a little deeper.
Yeah. Trusting is, so let me take a step back when I talk about trusting ourselves. So let's say we're making a decision, whatever the decision is. We'll typically have two polarities or dualities, one that says, yes, let's do this, and one that says, no, let's not do this.
Mm-hmm.
When we can take a step back and feel, see, sense, or imagine that that is not us, but a part of us that's saying, yes, we have to do this, or no, we should not do this, and here are the reasons. If we
Mm-hmm.
can take a step back and say, okay, these are parts of me. Now I can see this from a different perspective. And when I learn from each of these parts, it's not a pros and cons list. That's not what it is at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's a deep understanding of ourself. And that's how we trust ourselves. Trusting ourselves comes from a deep understanding within ourselves.
I'm really glad I asked that question, because I know that there's a lot of people who are watching, myself included, that didn't necessarily understand the depth of what you were explaining. And I think that maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that where like the deep work comes in? And,
Yes.
you know, like the acceptance of all of you instead of trying
Yes.
to squash bits away and make them wrong. And
Absolutely. Yes, Julian, yes.
I love that. That is, oh, that's empowering.
It is. It really is. And that's what I desire for women, is for them to feel empowered, because it doesn't feel good when we don't know what to do.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel good when
exactly.
we have these parts inside of us that are fighting. And then we'll notice it on the outside of us. Other people will
Mhm.
tell us two different opinions. But when we understand ourselves, we go within and we understand the parts of us that have different opinions or
Mhm.
different viewpoints. And then we can stand and we can go look from that third perspective, that intuition. Then
Yeah.
others will reflect that for us.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you point out that the inside world is going to be reflected in the outside world.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's interesting because and we're going to have to go to commercial in a minute. I want to talk more in depth about this after commercial, but I feel compelled to mention this now. We have to put our cat down tomorrow, and very hard, and it's very sudden. And, it's one of those difficult decisions. And I'm driving today to go pick up something for work. And I look in my rear view mirror, and all of a sudden I see a hearse. And I'm like, when was the last time I saw a hearse? And I just thought, okay, all right, we're making the right choice here.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not an easy one.
No.
And it's definitely not what I would choose, ultimately. But it's the best choice, and it's not for me, it's for him. So, it's just one of those things where I don't like it, but I also don't like him being so ill that, and that he's not going to come back from it either. So,
Right.
yeah, it is what it is. But speaking of passing away, you mentioned channeling, and I think that is such a fascinating gift. Is that? I would love for you to explain what that means, because there's so many people who like think of weirdos, and you're obviously not. But they have like this picture in their head of somebody maybe with a turban on, like levitating, and it's not. It's not real. It's like seeing a witch with a hat. It's just
Yeah. No. So we all have the ability to tap into our intuitive gifts, whether that's clairvoyance, clairsentience, claircognizance, and really tap into a knowing that is beyond this realm, if you want to say it in that way. And you can get, like, whether that's angel numbers for you, 333, 555, 111, whatever feels good. In that moment that something or someone is communicating to you from a higher realm that's saying, you're on the right path. You've got this. And I do that just in a language and in a way that I can understand and act upon, and that others can understand and act upon through my own voice. And it's beautiful to bring forth messages, because the number one thing that women say when they have an intuitive guidance session with me is some part of me already knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that. And you just validated it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives them permission to trust themselves.
There's that permission. Yeah. I love that though. It's just confirmation, because then it's like, okay, I really, like you said, I can trust myself. I can, because I just got this validation. Oh, I love that. I love that you are able to bring that to people, to women, because it's such a gift. Have you always been able to do that, or is this something that's happened in the last few years?
Yeah. So I had the gift when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, and I grew up in a home in which it wasn't okay to feel. I don't know if you also grew up crying. I'll give you something to cry about.
Oh, yeah.
We weren't allowed to be angry. Why would you act like that? We weren't allowed to have emotion, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless it was happy. And so I didn't know what to do with my feelings, so I would just bury them. Well, when we bury our feelings, we bury who we are, because we're human and we have feelings. And so once I started to do the healing work to let go of everything that I buried, then I uncovered these gifts again. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. I think that's beautiful, because, it's been there and you were able to bring it back to life. And, I love that you came from like this, not science, but more, earthly skill set and talents, and then also are able to embrace the other part of you as well. I just love it when women can do that, because it doesn't have to be either or. And
Right.
there's so many, like, it goes together so much. If you're looking for the similarities, it doesn't have to be like one. Yeah, I love that. I think that's amazing. On that note, though, we do need to go to commercial one more time. So we're going to be back in just a minute. And I said hello to everybody who's watching us live. Now it's time for me to say hello to everybody who's watching us on demand. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about, maybe when things aren't going exactly the way that you want them to. We'll be back in just a minute.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's bring our guest, Jessica, back to the show. Welcome. All right. So before the commercial break, I mentioned, when things go awry, things are not going according to plan. It's just, Like for me, for example, there are certain things in my life, obviously I don't want to put my cat down, but there's other things that, it's not how I planned. It's not the way it should be,
Yes.
And, how do I want to ask you what your thoughts are on how to stay centered during times like that because for me, I know the first thing I want to do is maybe emotionally eat or not eat at all. Or it's like I want some sort of sense of control over, like we have any control anyway. But, but all these little bad habits, sitting in front of the TV, escapism, all these things, instead of just being okay with the uncomfortable and realizing, this is not going to last forever. I would love for you to speak into that.
Absolutely. So first, let's go back to the simple fact that we're either running from a feeling or we're going towards a feeling. And when things don't go our way, there's a few things that we want to do, right? So for me, like you, I'm like, I'm going to eat this, or I'm going to eat this, or I'll overspend. Like last week, I went to IKEA and spent $300, and I didn't even buy furniture. Okay, so it's like, did I need these things? No, right? And instead, like we have to feel it. Okay, we have to feel it to heal it, and that's not easy. And so each day, what I would recommend is giving yourself time to feel, because sometimes in the middle of the grocery store, you can't feel the anger that's really inside of you, right? You can't feel what you're truly feeling in the moment. Now you can, I want to be really clear, but you can't, the behavior can express, okay? So you can feel the anger and you can let it run through you. There's a neuroscientist, and she has done studies, and an emotion takes 90 seconds to flow through you. Okay, so if you let it flow through you, it will. It'll just flow through you, but you have to breathe into it. That's all you have to do. Just keep breathing. Don't think about why you're mad. Feel about why you're mad. Feel it. And feel it and feel it and breathe. And it's really that simple. It is not easy. Okay, it's not easy. So once we allow ourselves to feel these feelings, we will have an opening that happens inside of us. Once this opening happens, you will get like this shot of energy, right? Then you'll want to accomplish things. You want to complete things. You want to get things done. You want to clean out your house. You want to do all of these things that feel really good. Once you finally feel the feeling, whether that's you finally cried or you finally allowed yourself to be mad, which, by the way, I want to say this. We are human and we have emotions. Okay. That's what that is a part of the human experience. And there are times that we need to express those emotions. So if you do kickboxing or boxing or whatever you do, yoga, letting that out of your system, running, jogging, push-ups, hitting a pillow, whatever feels good to you in a safe environment that feels good to you, do it. Because if not, you're holding on to the emotion. Okay. And when we hold on to it, then it starts to yell and scream at us through physical sensations in our body, or pains in our body, or tension in our body. So allow yourself to release it. That is what I recommend when things don't go our way. And here's the biggest thing. Give yourself permission to have grief.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. And I want to piggyback off of that because, there's certain things that people don't think about. For example, I'm getting married in, I don't know, less than 3 weeks. Coming up really. I mean, this is a beautiful, wonderful, exciting time, yay.
Yes.
And I am grieving the loss of my last name, which may sound silly to somebody, but I've been Julianne Meyer for 45 years. So, nobody, it's okay. The reason why I'm sharing that is it's okay to have more than one emotion about things that are going on too. And it's okay to, you don't have to make yourself wrong.
No, you don't. And that's someone else. So if you have thoughts in your mind that come up when you're having an emotion, notice what it sounds like, but more importantly, notice who it sounds like. Because it's most likely not you. It's a conditioned voice that's like that you learned very, very young.
I love that. No, and I think that that is such a really good, you know, to make that differentiation, to explain, like, we don't have to believe every single thought that is in our head.
Right. Right.
They're
And
not
that,
all truthful.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if you've ever watched the kids show Inside Out, I think is what it's called.
I
And
think
it's
that
like,
isn't that a movie or is it a show?
it's
Which
a
one am I
movie.
thinking?
It's a
Yes,
movie.
within the brain, right?
Yes, where there's like
Yes.
little anger and disgust
Yes.
and sadness and joy. Yes, and fear. You can imagine like those, let's say anger gets up to the control board and anger just wants to control it, right? And it's going to do
Mhm.
whatever it needs to do, whatever it needs to say to keep you in it. But if you
Mhm.
can imagine that you gently pull in the anger, you breathe through it, okay, and you allow it to be mad,
Mhm.
there's a difference between the emotion and the behavior. And let's make that really
Yes.
clear. All emotions are valid. Not all behaviors are valid. In fact, some behaviors are completely unacceptable. But the
Mhm.
emotions are valid. And so allowing ourselves to feel those emotions while also kind of prying the anger off of the control board, right? Or prying the fear off of the control board. Like, okay, you don't have to run everything. You can have your emotion, you can have your anger, you
Mhm.
can have your fear, you can have your sadness, you can even have your joy. But if we only know how to operate in those places and all we're doing is either running to happiness and the only thing that provides us happiness is being in control, whether that's spending money or eating or overworking or watching TV or whatever doesn't feel in alignment at that time, we have to
Mhm.
remember, okay, I can allow myself to do this, but does this really feel good after?
Exactly. Something else I was thinking about too is I think it comes back down to, like, if you humanize those little voices, it's like,
Yes,
who doesn't want to be seen, heard, and appreciated?
absolutely. Yes,
We start
Julian. Yes.
calming down once we feel like we've been heard.
Yes, yes. And I speak to myself in that way often, all the time. Once I realize that I'm multidimensional being and I have these inner children within me and they all have different needs. And if I
Mhm.
don't meet their needs, then they're going to show up in the outside world. And I have 3 kids and they're going to show me in my 3 kids. Once I realize, like, oh, wow, okay, so what does this part of me need? How can I show up for myself?
Yeah, I think that comes back to, like, just trusting, and I feel too, if we're trying to push down all these different parts of ourselves and these different emotions, that's that lack of trust.
Mhm.
Like, I can't let you be in charge for even a second because whatever. I need to feel in control. All of, oh, I love your definition of self-trust because it's so much more deep and, I don't know, powerful than anything I've ever heard before.
Thank you.
I love that so much. We are running low on time. We only have a few minutes left. So I'm going to pop up your website again here. Besides the quiz, a wonderful quiz that you have, all the information that comes. By the way, I'm doing this, so you can expect to hear from me. What other stuff can we find on your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a high achievers trifecta guide. So if you're watching this and you feel like you're a high achiever, you probably are. Like if you're always going for the next best thing, you're looking for the next best book or whatever it is, there's impacts to being a high achiever. And working with so many women who are high achievers, I was like, oh my goodness, wow, there are these very specific traits that come with it. And so I created a guide. It's called the High Achievers Trifecta. So you'll find that on there. And it gives you steps and ways to guide yourself and to help yourself once you get into that achievement mode, because that can be kind of debilitating at times because you're pushing yourself
Nice.
so hard. And you'll also find how to work with me on there. And then you'll find my book, Reclaim Yourself, which is a bestseller.
I love that. And so people can buy your book on your website?
Yes, they can. Yeah. It'll
Perfect.
take them to Amazon, but yes.
Well, hey, it's easier. One click and then you're there. It's like, whoo,
Yep.
okay. Instead of digging through Amazon.
Yes, yes. Go right
I
to my
love
website.
Amazon, but it's a freaking rabbit hole. I
It
You
is.
should see like my saved items list. It's ridiculous. Just like, ooh, okay, I can wait. I can wait. Oh my gosh, I'm a little crazy with that. So, as I mentioned, we are almost out of time, but is there any final thoughts that you would love to share with the audience, or maybe if there's something that, you would love to reiterate as well?
Yeah, I'd love to end with courage. So we can have the clarity to know what we want to do. We can have the confidence to do it. But courage is another thing. Courage is actually taking the action. And courage takes trust. And so I invite you to just do one thing each day, even if it's super small, to build that courage muscle inside of you, to build that trust within you.
That is so beautiful. You're right. What is it? Faith without actions is dead. I can't even remember how the saying goes, but courage, it takes courage to actually do the thing. So,
Yes.
well, I just wanted to say thank you so very much for being on the show today. It has been an absolute pleasure. I'm glad we were able to make it work, and you're amazing. And I'm excited to go on your website myself. So,
Awesome.
you are definitely a bright light in my day. So I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Julian. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. And everyone, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. We will see you again on Thursday. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Bye for now.